It's the small victories that I think I appreciate the most. My name is Andrea Gonzalez Burton, and I'm a managing attorney at Community Legal Aid. I was born and raised in Youngstown, Ohio. I was raised by my mother, who is a single mom. I went to undergrad here, and then I went away for school for both my master's and my law degree. And then I came back and began working in criminal indigency cases, so representing people who couldn't afford attorneys. I also worked extensively with children's services and cases where children had to be removed from their home because of safety or abuse. I was accepted when I was 15 years old into a advanced civics course that took place at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. I spent about 12 weeks studying law and going to the Capitol, meeting with legislators, meeting with Supreme Court justices. There was a particular incident at the Pentagon, and I remember my turn to give my information to get my necklace printed so that I could wear it in order to go inside. And the guard, I was joking around because a levity and a very serious encounter, and I asked him jokingly whether there were bracelets that came to match the necklaces. And he smirked and he made a comment that no, but there were nooses. And he had not said anything or been unfriendly with anyone else who was before me or after me, but I was also probably one of 3 African Americans in this specific group of kids who were going into the Pentagon that day. And it sort of unnerved me because I'd never encountered such blatant disregard or racism, and especially directed as a child, because it was very clear that I was a child, that that's what this group was about. It sort of took me off guard, and it changed my perspective of how the world saw me and how I would see the world, and that's probably shaped every encounter that I've ever had after this point, both with law enforcement but with other people, in terms of not knowing how they were going to approach me or respond to who I was as a person. When I was about, I would say 25, 26 years old, that sounds about right. I was in court for a regular misdemeanor case where my client was being held for a pretrial, and he was in detainment, so he was in jail. And this is really probably the very beginning of what's considered the Black Lives Matter movement, in terms of individuals who were losing their lives. I wore a Black Lives Matter button underneath a vest that I had. I had a blouse on and then a vest, and then my vest was buttoned up. And so the only way you could see the button is if I bent down to pick up something or to grab a file. And so it was not on my lapel, it wasn't on the front of my jacket or my vest. I had worn it before, and I guess people had noticed it. And so this particular day, the court officials were alerted to see if I was wearing it and to let the judge know. So when I went down to get something out of my briefcase, my vest swung open and you could see the button on my blouse. And the prosecutor alerted the judge that I was wearing it, and essentially I was arrested that day and sentenced to 10 days in jail for refusing to take it off. I was moved upstairs to detainment, and I was being processed in terms of my belongings being inventoried so that I could be transported to jail to begin my sentence. And I remember crying quite a bit, not because I was going to jail, not that anyone's happy about going to jail, but I felt sort of overwhelmed by the situation that people who work for the justice system consider Black Lives Matter to be not just like an assertion that they were entitled to equal rights or due process, but that it was a political statement for which you could be on one side of it or the other. I sued the city of Youngstown in federal court for unlawful discrimination for some the after effects of what happened once that my detention was finished. So I never actually served a day in jail, but I had to promise to not wear the button to court again, which I felt a little reluctant to do because I had not worn it outwardly. And so the inclination was that my body could be monitored and controlled even where people couldn't see it. When the opportunity came to join community legal aid, I thought that that would be a better place for me to be with like-minded people and to have support. So that was the way in which that instance changed my trajectory to what it is today. So those are the two incidences that I can think of. When I was an undergrad at YSU, I had a political science professor who essentially was like really a fan of the Constitution, a nerd of the Constitution. And his class was so interesting because he would have us read like all of the writings which formulated the ideas for the Constitution, which were, philosophy based. They predated even Greece. What I thought about that was that it was like a work of art or a painting that everyone got to participate in crafting, and what would result would be the country that was most representative of its people, that had in mind of treating everyone equally and fairly. And I thought that was literally the most beautiful thing that I'd ever thought about as an idea of something. I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer that specifically helped people who were impoverished, because I was growing up in a single family home. We were poor, and my father was not very much around. He suffered from addiction, and I understood what it was like to not have things that you need and to be the underdog and to have a system that really wasn't built to provide you the supports that you needed. And in the same sense, my mom did a really awesome job of making me believe that anything I could and wanted to do was absolutely possible if I put in the work. I wanted to make sure that where I lived, kids believed that their families really could provide for them to be anything that they wanted. And I wanted to make sure there were no barriers to having their family be able to accomplish that. And so that's literally what legal aid does for families every day, is to make something that should not be impossible, but often is incredibly possible. Allowing the person to decide what they want and how they want to live their life, allowing us to help them accomplish that. So aiding in autonomy and personhood is so, I think, quintessential to everyone's existence. And that's what poverty work is hopefully removing the barriers that allow a person to accomplish that. Sometimes I think we, as people, are built on the idea that we have to have recognition. And it is wonderful for people to tell you that you've helped them, that you've changed something for them. But I think an obstacle or barrier that you remove from someone, even if they don't always associate you with it, but the fact that they can accomplish something because that obstacle or barrier has been removed, that is the little thing that we leave behind.